Yeah, Tate, I'm curious, when you're on your podcast and your guest or your co-host or something, he says something and you know this is about to go viral. Is that good news for you or bad news for your phone, like Herbie may call you and get upset? I'm talking about specifically the Trevor Etienne clip recently.
Golly. Sometimes it's bad news. Yeah, so some things are said that we're like, okay, that needs to be taken out. But I guess that was something that we didn't catch right away. So it ended up going big, but I don't think it got too big as some of the other stuff has that should have probably been taken out. But it is what it is.
Tate, I was just wondering, does Carson let you eat in his Lamborghini? And how many guys have kind of riding in it so far?
You know, Carson's been a huge car guy. I've lived with him for a while now, and I think that's cool for him to finally live out that dream of his.
If he could eat in it, though.
I don't think he'd let me do that.
Okay.
Tate, you guys got a lot of freshman offensive linemen coming in. Just what are your early impressions of this group and their potential down the road?
I think, like usual, it's a really good group. A lot of potential in that group. I think with some of these guys will be too. Some of these guys will even be able to help us this year. They've came in and done a really good job.
I promise we're going to get off the Lambo here in a minute, but I'm just curious. Obviously, you guys are very close and have lived together and everything. So, can you share a little bit of when that came down? Like when you found out that did he just pull in the driveway in a Lambo, or were you with him when he went and picked it out? And kind of how did that land on you?
I think he let me know he was going to do it, and I was like, it's awesome because, like I said, that's always been a dream of his. He's been a huge car guy, so getting to see him do that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're a guy that's started our national championship team. You've won 2 in your time here, started multiple years. Why did you elect to come back for this extra season? And was there anything that sort of motivated you or pushed you to say, I want to end this on better terms than you did last season?
Yeah, definitely. I think there was a bad taste in my mouth after last year, and of course there's things I want to accomplish by myself and I want to see this team accomplish. So both those things had a big reason why I came back.
You mentioned Trevor earlier. Just what does he add to this team, and what have your first impressions of him been so far?
He's meshed really well with everybody. He came in. He's a good personality. So he's really gotten along with everybody. We've really brought him into our family, and looking forward to see what he can do this spring.
Yeah, Tate, obviously Cedric moved on to the NFL this past offseason. What all was he taking care of in terms of just at the line of scrimmage, where y'all are going, Mike IPs, pass protection, stuff like that? How much was in control of Cedric's, and how much are you kind of trying to step in and assert yourself in that?
In game, pretty much every call unless Carson decided to step in and change something. And I think Jared coming up is ready for that job, and he's done a really good job so far. And just the leadership in the offensive line room and the team, and I'm trying to step into some of those roles, try to pick up where he left off. But it's a great leader that left, so it's hard to replace. But I think we have a couple guys doing a really good job stepping up and trying to take that role over.
Being so close with Carson, what's impressed you the most about his development over the years?
Kind of just his work ethic and being able to stick it through from when things haven't been going the best way for him. You have to respect that. Obviously, things haven't gone to his plan until last year, but just seeing him stick through that, keep his head down, and keep grinding has been a great way for him to gain respect.
Tate, when Carson was in here, you talked a little bit about his leadership this offseason. Have you noticed anything different in terms of his leadership and what he's been willing to do during the offseason?
For sure. He's definitely one of those guys trying to step up right now and trying to fill that leadership role. He's done a really good job going out and throwing with receivers and stuff like that, kind of just taking control of the offense.
I know that obviously you get to play with Truss again this year, and especially possibly with him at right tackle, a guy you've been playing with for years. First of all, I know both of you guys kind of announced you're coming back at the same time. Was that a planned thing? And then at the same time, what does it mean to get to play with him for another year?
It wasn't planned us announcing it at the same time. It just kind of happened that way, but it's exciting for me. That's one of my best friends. And we've gotten really close and really meshed together playing next to each other. So coming back to play next to somebody that I'm really familiar with playing next to is really exciting for me.
Yeah, with Cedric moving on, then Austin Bosky transferring out of the program, you guys have lost a couple of centers. How do you guys go about developing center? Have you practiced taking snaps? Have you practiced center at all in terms of developing guys that can't possibly have that?
I have taken a few snaps so far this spring. And I think it's just as practice goes, everybody gets developed. We're going to be moving people here, there, everywhere. So it's kind of just throughout the process of the spring figuring that out.
How was that process of learning how to snap going?
It made me have a lot more respect for what Seth did. I called him. I told him, I was like, I have a newfound respect for what you did all last year.
Tate, you guys' offensive line is obviously one of the best in the country last season, but I know Coach Bobo was talking about against Alabama short yardage situations. Do you put things like out there as a motivator for yourself, one, and then two, this Joe Moore Award has been out there a while. Is that a big piece of the resume you'd like to leave with?
Yes, definitely. I think the Joe Moore Award is something that everybody in our offensive line room wants to accomplish, and we've fallen short 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row. So that's definitely on the back of our minds every day when we go out and practice. And there's definitely certain motivation from last year that we carry over to this year, wanting to be better in certain areas.
Speaking of center, just what have your impressions been of Jared Wilson and his potential?
He's a freak athlete. He's really done a good job of starting to take control up front and being loud with his mic calls and stuff like that. So he's really done a good job of stepping into that role.
Yeah, Tate, you obviously played with Warren Erickson, and now he's back as a coach. I guess, what was Warren Erickson the player like, and what is Warren Erickson the coach like now?
Warren as a player was a great leader. Even though he wasn't in the role that he wanted to be in his last 2 years playing, or his last year playing, he was a tremendous leader, always on the sideline picking people up. Even at practice, if somebody wasn't having a bad day, he was right there, the first one to pick them up, and I think he's the same way now. You see that carrying over into his coaching. He's always there to help somebody. He's really done a good job helping these freshmen.
Tate, you called Jared Wilson a freak athlete. What we don't get to see a lot of the stuff you see. What is it about him that kind of makes him, makes you say that about him?
Just him running. The way he can get to a linebacker, things like that. Things you don't normally see out of a center. He can get to a linebacker with helping your guard too at the same time, when a lot of centers just have to climb straight up. So the way he just has great footwork and can get things done up front.
You've been here a while now. Are there moments that you feel like the old guy, and when you get in the room with some of those freshmen?
Oh yeah, when they first come in and tell me they're 17 years old, and I'm about to turn 23. Yeah, it makes me feel kind of old. But and kind of just seeing how freshman classes have grown over the years, and being here for so long and seeing that, and just knowing that I was that guy so long ago, it's definitely kind of weird sometimes.
Have you had a chance to spend much time around the new offensive coaches? I don't know if you knew Coley back in the day, but Josh Crawford's here as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's your impression so far?
Coley was here when I was getting recruited, so I had a relationship with Coley before he got here, and seeing him around is kind of cool. I haven't really gotten to know Coach Crawford yet, but I think as spring goes on and we start practicing and meeting more, I think that'll come.
So we talked a little bit about your podcast, and I've asked you a question last year about obviously Zion Logue taking over for Ryland, and now Brett's taken over. What has it been like to get to do a podcast with all three of those guys, and now getting to work with Brett directly now?
It's three different personalities, so it's been pretty cool to see the transition of how it's went throughout the years. Now with Brett's hilarious. Brett has a great personality, so it's a lot of fun to do it with him.
Tate, have you noticed any difference with Coach Smart over the course of your career in terms of the guy you hear on the microphone or leadership style?
No, he's a winner. He's been that since I've gotten here, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to come here. Is he wants to win, and he takes his job very seriously and doesn't let anybody slip up. So I respect that about him. He's been that way since I've been here.
Have time for a couple more.
If you could go back and give yourself advice at 17, 18, first coming into this program, what advice would you give yourself?
Live in the training room. I remember when I first got here, I thought my body was invincible. Thought nothing could hurt it. And now, going into my 5th year, you figure out that's not the case. So I wish I'd have learned that earlier and started taking care of my body earlier.
Any more for Tate? All right, thank you, Tate.
Thanks, Tate.
Yep.
That was